Hello there, this is Jill, Wigmore-Welsh from Reading in Berkshire, UK, bringing you another episode of my Well Aware podcast. It's a while since I recorded. I've been quite busy, so I can only apologise. This is how life is. So today's recording is largely for those people who are interested in their bone health. I run a programme called Better Bones, the Anatomy of Movement, and it's Better Bones for Life as well. So Better Bones for Life has come around because I am background consultant, chartered physiotherapist, advanced practice in rehabilitation, and an expert in bone health. I completed a training many years ago in a body awareness movement course, which, as some people may know, it's called Feldenkrais method, and I did a lot of advanced training in it, achieved a teacher status and integrated it into health, used it extensively with my rehabilitation clients. I was pretty much one of the first UK physiotherapists to begin to start to use the work within musculoskeletal, orthopaedic and neurological rehab. And that was going back to 1994, which is a long time. And I completed a training with someone called Ruthie Allon, which was called Bones for Life. And in 2005, she personally appointed me to be a pioneer, a trainer in the method, to be able to be a trainer to train others, certify them as teachers, etc. And a long while has gone by, and I've been using the work with clients, but I've also evolved it now so that I am integrating evidence. I've taken it into pain management. I've started to integrate the neuroscience, trauma-informed work, and also the current evidence that is out there with regard to nutrition, sleep, exercise, load bearing, and of course my favourite, which is what I call bone stacking. In other words, ensuring that you align your bones well so that you have your skeleton, your orchestra of bones, optimally aligned whenever you do what it is that you want to do. So we think of posture as being something that's assessed when you stand in the middle of the room and somebody walks or looks at you and you're standing still. But actually posture is something that we do when we are performing any activity, and there are optimal ways that we can use our skeleton. You can use your skeleton so that you put least stress and strain on the soft tissues, and you take the weight through your bones in as natural a way as possible to reduce the risk of developing osteoarthritis, degenerative changes, etc. There are many factors involved with that, but hey-ho. And today, this short recording is actually for those people who are interested in their knees. A lot of people have problems with their knees. It's a very common joint to have injuries, total knee replacements, degenerative joint changes, etc. And it's very important to understand how our muscles and our muscle strength and the way we move and use ourselves can contribute to either putting unnatural load on our knees or decreasing the load and spreading the load through the rest of your system. So there are going to be 3 short lessons. They're explorations. So when I say they're a lesson, this is not about copying. This is about exploring. It's about the whole experiential side of discovering what it is that you do, how you use your body, and getting to know a little bit more about yourself. So I'm going to jump in right now, and the first lesson is associated with the work that I train. It's associated with the Better Bones for Life program that I've put together. And as I say, that program that this is taken from is actually for people who don't have what I call severe osteoporosis. They're not falling over. They are able to get down onto the floor and up again. They're able to walk about 800 meters, which is about half a mile. And the first lesson, or first part of the exploration, will be in lying. You can lie on the bed and do this, but it's much better to try to see if you can actually get down to the floor and find yourself a nice mat or something that you're well cushioned if you don't have a mat. Consider getting a mat so you can do some floor work. You can buy these nice thick mats off the shop with an A where you get deliveries, but we don't say we buy from, if you understand. So you can use your mat, you can get some props, you can get some pillows, you can get some foam wedges, you can get some yoga blocks, etc. If you come to lie down on the floor and you find you're not in a well-supported position, it's a good idea to have some wheat bags, or as I say, some rolled-up towels, some paperback books that you can use to put behind your head, etc. But I'm going to leave you to explore what you need, and we're going to jump straight in to this lesson. But I will tell you also, part of this is based on the work of someone called Sarah Meeks, who was a physiotherapist who is still alive. She's in her late 80s now, I think. And Sarah really devised a lot of work to do with kyphosis, postural change, etc. And so we're going to start where Sarah used to always start her lessons, and where a lot of people familiar with the Feldenkrais work will know that we often start, and that's on the floor. So find yourself a nice space and come to lie on the floor. Think about having some kind of support that you can have under your head. You can use books, you can use a rolled up towel. So when you're lying down, just notice how much your head is, if you like, tipping backwards. You want to have your chin and your forehead approximately in line with each other. It doesn't matter too much, but if you don't have it like that, then what you might find is you have a big gap under the back of your neck. So let's just start there. As you lie on the floor, what does it feel like to lie on the floor like this? Start from the backs of your heels. Start with one leg and sort of notice which part of your heel is resting on the floor. Is it the outside of the heel? Is it more towards the outer border of your foot? Is it the center of your heel? Is it the inside? Just notice without changing. And then allow your attention to come to your calf. And again, notice where the weight is here. Is the weight central? Is it over to one side or another side? How comfortable does it feel for you to lie with your legs in this lengthened, long, straight configuration? During lessons, it's very important to look after yourself. Sometimes in a lesson, it can feel as if you should do something. In other words, if I say lie on the floor, you come to lie on the floor even though you think it's not something that you like to do. But actually what happens is that you find yourself doing that, and then you realise that maybe that wasn't such a good idea after all, that this isn't a comfortable position for you, and that actually you'd be much better off lying in the bed. So if you begin to find that this isn't a comfortable position for you, then you can choose to do what you want to do. You can get up, you can go and lie on the bed, you can listen to the recording without doing anything, you can sit in a chair and listen to it. Because this is not about you following my instructions and thinking, I have to do it like this. I have to follow these instructions implicitly. that actually as and of itself can be a learning for those who are often aware that they do follow instructions to the letter. It might not be something that they realise they take into many different aspects of their life. Perhaps at some point someone suggested that you should follow instructions, and from then onwards maybe you have done. But come back to your exploring and bring your attention now to your other foot. And this time, exactly the same exploring of the heel. Notice if that heel is resting so that the weight is in the center of the heel, or is it towards the outer border or the inner border? And just notice. The temptation can be to be beginning to start to judge. Just notice it, notice what it's like, and then move on up to the calf and notice what it's like here, how much pressure. If you were to have painted the back surface of your skin with ink, how big a print would the back of your calf and the back of your heel be making on the floor? And then maybe do the same, compare with the other leg, the back of the calf and the heel. And often when we lie down on the floor, when we've been doing things during the day, and especially if we've been very active during the day, and we do something like this in the morning, and then in the evening after all of that activity, we do the activity again, we can notice something that's shifted. And it can be something that gives us a clue, a bit of a clue about how we're using ourselves. And it's perfectly okay to be asymmetrical, as long as it's not giving you a problem. So come back to exploring, and this time move on up to the back of your thigh. Do the same thing on the first leg that you explored. And notice the contact. Again, if you want to, you can imagine ink on the back of your thigh and a pressure point that you're making. How thick or wide or thin or long would your contact be on this leg? Take your time. There's no rush. If you're new to this, you might find that it feels very strange to do something like this. Why would I do this kind of work? And I'll tell you in a little bit about my experience, a bit of a story about when I first came across this work. So as you're lying, bring your attention to your other leg, your leg that you hadn't done already, the back of your thigh, and start noticing here. What is it the print of your back of your leg would make if you had ink on this part of the thigh? Would it be the same, different, bigger, smaller? Weight on the outside, weight on the inside. A check-in point like this is a really good thing to do before you start with any body movement awareness lesson. The reason being that if you can notice your pattern at the start, and then maybe we do some work, we do some movement, you explore a bit, and then you come back and you check in again, you can find out if the pattern has shifted. And almost certainly if you do this lesson again at the end of the day, you might find that there is a ghost of that original pattern still there at the end of the day. And something about what you've done, your habits during the day, has led you back, drawn you back home, back to your nice, comfortable patterns and paths. Now, as you rest, draw your attention to where the spaces are behind your knees, behind your ankles. And as you notice those spaces, ask yourself, do I need any support? If you had an injury to a knee in the past, Sometimes you can find that leg doesn't sit quite as flat as the other leg. If that's uncomfortable, you can put a rolled up towel or something underneath. Support yourself. As I say, this work is about looking after yourself, making your own choices. It's not a question of, oh, well, I was told I should lie on the floor and do this movement. It's about having a go. If you don't feel that this is something that you can manage to do because there's discomfort, then stop. It's completely up to you. This is not a form of therapy. I'm not giving you medical advice. You're choosing to try out doing some of this movement work. As you make sure you're comfortable, I'm just going to explain that it was way back in 1990, 4 years before I actually began my body movement awareness training, that a client actually introduced me to the work. They'd had a stroke, and this form of work had been part of their rehabilitation and recovery program out in Australia. And when they came back, they were looking for someone who could help them to rehabilitate and recover, which is what I was there to do. And they provided me with information on this work. And I have to admit, when I went away and I listened to a recording on my car cassette player at that time, I couldn't understand what it was I was listening to. And I probably slightly dismissed it, which would be a bit of an understatement. But then I came across it myself through doing some voice work and breath work when I was working with individuals with chronic fatigue, a lot of whom have problems with their diaphragm, regulation, etc. And I came across this work. I didn't realize it was the same thing. I found it incredibly interesting and I started to explore for myself, go on courses, workshops, etc. And I was quite astounded with what I found. As a physiotherapist with a background in zoology, neuroscience, movement, etc., this way of exploring self-use was novel, interesting, and over time I actually discovered an enormous amount which helped me to manage my own chronic pain to the extent I don't get chronic pain now. So come back to your lying position, and I want you now just to think about slowly stretching your right leg away from you. So it's as if you're making your right leg longer. At the same time you're doing that, you're just gently beginning to ask and invite your foot to come up towards you. So as you're pushing away, it's as if you're imagining you've got a block under your heel. And I don't mean between you and the floor, I mean under your heel, as if you were standing and that block was literally underneath your heel and it was just lifting you up a little bit. So it's as if you have a block there and you're pushing into that block. Now, one of the ways that I use this in group work as we advance is to actually use a block and to push into the heel and have that block near a wall. But to start with, I just want you to be pushing the leg along, allowing the foot to naturally come up. And what you'll find is that as you push, you'll feel a tendency for your leg to go straighter and for your muscles at the top of your leg to tighten. Those are surface muscles, deeper muscles, etc. And just feel what it's like to be lengthening your leg away, thinking about how much movement is becoming involved throughout your whole body. Are you allowing that movement to spread into your rib cage? Are you holding your breath when you come to do this movement? If you hold your breath, then sometimes it can keep your rib cage really stiff and tight. And again, you can explore just with this simple, very simple movement, allowing yourself to push away. Are you tightening up? Sometimes we tighten as a habitual response when we get pain, and then let everything go. And I want you to repeat this 2 or 3 or 4 times, just gently, and allow that leg just to rest. And then what you're going to do is you're going to come to do exactly the same activity on the other leg. You're going to lengthen the leg away as if you're pushing into a block, allowing your foot to come up towards you gently, no pulling hard, and allowing yourself to sense how that knee wants to respond by straightening out. Now I'm going to leave you to carry on practicing that a little bit on your own. I suggest you stop the recording for a moment or two and you carry on. And then when you feel ready, I want you just to allow yourself to stop and rest. A nice exhale, allow yourself to be calm and relaxed. And just briefly scan your heels and notice the position of your weight. Is it the same as it was when you started? Is the weight slightly further out or slightly further in? Has doing this activity made some change to your central nervous system? Have you been perhaps firing some muscles you wouldn't normally use? Just explore. And when you're ready, you can come up into standing and walk and take this with you for the rest of the day. And in a few moments, I will just go on with the next lesson. So now we're going to move on with the next lesson. These are very short introductory lessons. And in this lesson, you're going to be standing. You can stand at a table, you can stand at a chair, you can stand with a wall behind you if you feel unsteady. If you think you need something to hold on to, you can have the kitchen sink or a nice strong banister. Make sure you're safe. And what you're going to do this time is to stand nice and long. So first of all, just think of standing proud. So standing up nice and long and tall with your weight evenly distributed on towards your heels, lifting yourself up. Allow yourself just to lift one arm up in the air towards the ceiling. So a little gentle lift. If you have restriction of movement in your joints, remember, do what you can do. And as you look up and look at that hand, that's right, just notice what it's like to relax in your body. Allow yourself to carry on breathing and just allow that gentle, long stretch to go all through that side of your body. But think of that word. We're not using that word stretch like a stretch you do before you go out for a run or putting your foot up on something and leaning forward. No. This is just a natural lengthening. As you allow the arm to come up and you look towards it, you're just doing what you can do. No effort. Allow yourself to keep breathing as you do the movement. Notice the difference between putting the attention on making this a stretch. I'm going to stretch up to the ceiling as far as I can go, push and push and push. And then just allowing yourself to gently lift the arm, go where it feels easy, allow your weight to shift just easy, and just glance towards the hand. If it's easy for you to turn, maybe you have hypermobility syndrome, or maybe you have other Ehlers-Danlos conditions which cause your soft tissue to be very pliable. Again, go mindfully and slowly and think of the path that you're going to take through the air with your hand, and then come down with that arm. Allow yourself just to stand again. Notice how your standing is now. Very simple, very straightforward. And then what you're going to do is just repeat this on the other side. You're just gently going to take your weight over onto the other leg. Allow yourself to push that foot into the ground. Lengthen your arm a little up towards the ceiling. Allow your gaze to shift, to look at the arm. Allow yourself just to soften and breathe in and breathe out naturally, without trying to force yourself to do something that isn't something that feels easy for you. Repeat this maybe once or twice and then stop. Stand. If you feel that's easy for you, we're going to just try a little lift of the opposite leg this time. When you come to lift, so you're going to take your weight over onto one side, gently, carefully, lifting that arm a little way, a little glance, and a little tiny lift with the other foot, all very slowly. It's often more learning involved if you do movements slowly than if you do them quickly. You'll discover a wobble or something that means that you don't feel so steady. Maybe you have vestibular problems. Maybe you have blood pressure problems. Maybe you have ear or eye problems. And when you go to do this, you find it's disquieting. And as I say all along, learn from that. See what you can learn from the experience. If you want to, you can explore taking the weight onto the other side, lifting the arm a little, glancing towards it, and lifting the opposite foot. So literally just lifting one foot, maybe a couple of centimeters. But remember, you've got something there. If you feel unsteady, hold on. If you want the wall, you've got the wall. Your choice. I'm not responsible if you're doing this and you have a lot of instability or problems with your eyes or ears. It's down to you to set your own level at which you start. In my experience of working with individuals, sometimes people overestimate what they can do. So sometimes it's better to start really low and slow and gentle and find it easy to do and then build. And what you can do is going to be what you can do. It's not the same as everybody else. It's not about judging. It's about appraising where you are to start. So you could repeat this little movement if you wanted to, a couple of times in the day if you wanted to, lengthening. It might even be, if you work in an office, that you find somewhere a stairwell with a banister rail or something, and you take yourself off quietly and just have a little stand and a reach and a lengthen during the day, because sitting for long periods of time causes you to curl up a little bit like a cashew nut. And it means that your muscles get used to you being in this position, your spine gets compressed anteriorly. So just literally this lengthening and standing and lifting up is a lovely little activity to do. So we're going to finish that little lesson now. I'll leave a little gap and then we're going to move on. So now here is the final. We were talking about knees. Knees are an incredibly important job, have an incredibly important job in terms of load distribution, but they're also joints that are very easily injured. When people are doing activities, they'll often put a lot of rotational twisting strain on their knee joints. And maybe their muscles aren't strong enough to have that, what we call dynamic stability. Maybe they are literally twisting on the knee joint rather than allowing the movement to flow through. So when you come to do this activity, if you were unable to do the last two activities, the lying down one, which if you can't do that lying on the bed, maybe if your knee is too bent, or if when you tried the last activity, you found that you actually couldn't let go, it was too difficult, or you felt dizzy, then I suggest you just stay working on those two. But with this one, if you think that you can, I want you to actually stand in the middle of the room when you come to do this. And this is really a warming up movement. Most people who have knee problems will know what quadriceps exercises are. Quadriceps exercises are very straightforward. They're very simple. They're very basic. And they're exercises that everyone needs to know how to do. They are the most basic exercises you get taught, have been the same exercises for decades and decades and decades, probably generations. Tightening the muscles at the top of your leg, so in sitting, with your legs out straight in front, tightening the muscles at the top of your leg, pushing your knee straight, pulling the foot up at the same time, keeping the leg straight and lifting the leg maybe a couple of centimetres or 2 centimetres, 3 centimetres off the table, holding it there and then putting it down. You can bend your other leg up for some support, but these are really basic exercises to do. Now, when you're doing the activity that you're doing today, this last one, as I say, do this in the middle of the room. And what I want you to do is make sure you've got a bit of space around you. And you're going to first start off by standing tall. So you can see how the last two activities that you've done actually help to lead you up to standing tall. So standing tall, I want you just to march on the spot. So you can start with a little march. So literally a 1, 2, 1, 2, or you can do it slower. And gradually, I want you to lift the opposite hand and opposite leg a little bit higher. Now, go with your own pace on this one. So as you're marching on the spot and you're breathing in and out, you're simultaneously swinging your opposite arm towards the ceiling as you march. And then that one comes down and you do the opposite one. So raise your knees as high as you comfortably can. And if you feel unstable, firstly I suggest you go back and practice the last two. But if you feel unstable, you could just do this between two chairs. Or if you've got a small corridor with a banister, maybe a rail, you could have that on one side, the wall on the other, and you could just do it with your feet, your knees rather. It's really important not to put yourself at risk, especially when you get older and you have osteoporotic changes. So trying to think about the arm swing, and as you're swinging your arms, think about making it with a little bit of a bent arm, so that you're bending the arm and you're marching, so your knees are bending and your arms are bending as well. If you bend your elbows, you'll probably find that you can actually go at a slightly quicker pace. And you can feel how you can get that 1, 2, 1, 2, or 1, 2, whatever your pace is. And you might find that this sort of fits with doing some slightly brisker walking. As you walk, this arm swinging has something to do with helping your legs to come through as well. Play, explore. Remember, if you've not done activity for a while, start slow, start gentle, and if you're interested in discovering more about improving your bone strength, your stability, your balance, your coordination, your posture, then get in touch with me. You can send me a message. It's my website is my name, Jill Wigmore-Welsh.com. My email is support@jillwigmore-welsh.com. But if you go to my website, you'll find there's a message form that you can fill in. You can send me a message, and I'm looking forward to running some boot camps over the UK, over the World Wide Web, so online boot camps. So if you're interested in learning more about better bones for life and you want to stay nice and strong, then send me a message. Have a lovely rest of the day. It's beautiful sunshine here in the UK. I'm just about to have my early morning cup of tea. It's actually just turned 7 o'clock in the morning. So I've been up nice and bright and early. Have a lovely day wherever you are, and I look forward to hearing how you get on. Take care. Bye.